Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In response to this question, if your answer is we don't know and we choose to halt in making a decision, then our response would be that that is due to a lack of information of the ahadith or the relevant and appropriate ahadith. And if your response may be that, well, isn't it that in the past there were people from the past years, past decades, past centuries, where they always believed that we are at the time of the Mahdi and we are expecting the appearance of the Mahdi. So what's the difference now? People are still saying the same thing, so it doesn't change. So in our response to this, we say the same answer, that it is due to a lack of the relevant, appropriate ahadith information. Otherwise, if people have been saying that the Mahdi is to appear even centuries ago, number one, that does not justify us telling ourselves that no, we would not look for the Mahdi anymore. That's nonsensical. Just because people have been saying that years now doesn't mean that we should stop looking for the Mahdi. That's one. And two, to get a better understanding, the ahadith which describes the timeline of the arrival of the Mahdi are divided into two categories. The first category of ahadith, they give a vague timeline, meaning that, for example, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ubashirukum bil Mahdi yub'athu fi ikhtilaf min an-nas waz-zalazil." I give glad tidings of the Mahdi who would be sent at a time when people would be in great disputes and earthquakes. So in the past, when people would see disputes and earthquakes happening regularly, they would say that we are at the time of the Mahdi could appear anytime. But then a long space of time would go. And that is because the ahadith gave glad tidings and it gave as a sign, but it was a vague timeline. That's one category of ahadith. Then the other category of ahadith gives a more precise timeline. But people, they were not really aware of these ahadith because of maybe some of the ahadith are weak and they didn't pay attention to it, and possibly because some of the incidents they did not happen as yet, and also they came from weak ahadith, so the people, they didn't know. So concerning these ahadith, for example, Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a person would seek refuge in the house and he would be killed with a weapon, and it would be thought that he is the Mahdi. And then another person would seek refuge in the house, and if you meet him, do not fight him, because that army which fights him would be the army that would sink. In other words, this is the real Mahdi. So from this hadith, for example, the Messenger of Allah said that a period of time would pass between the two. And this period of time was described as being between 30 to 40 years. This incident actually took place about 40 years ago with a person by the name of Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Qahtani. A hadith mentioned he would be from Qahtan. And the ahadith, the wordings that we use in the ahadith describes that the people who met the first person who people thought was the Mahdi, there is a possibility that the same people would meet the other one who is the real Mahdi. So this means that it is within this lifespan, and our average human lifespan these days is about 60 years. So within a shorter space of time, we have zoned down onto a certain time of the appearance of the Mahdi. This is one example. Our next example of a hadith which zones down onto a more precise timeline is the hadith about a person whose name would be Abdullah, and when he dies, the Mahdi would appear soon after that. This person in collaboration with another hadith where the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam spoke about three sons of a Khalifa, a king, or three sons who would be from one household. They would dispute and fight after the death of a king. And this fighting and dispute would continue until one of these, they would evict and they would deport the Yemenis. And the Yemenis, they would come back and they would fight the same king, one of the three kings, they would fight the same king, and as the leader of them, they would have the Mahdi. This fighting, King Abdullah, as the hadith mentioned, as the narration mentioned, Abdullah, he passed away, and when he passed away, King Abdullah, his three of his household, Muhammad bin Salman, Muhammad bin Naif, and Abdullah bin Mut'ib, there was a big scuffle, and it still is going on, as the hadith mentioned. It still is they are still fighting for the throne. That is why Muhammad bin Salman is known as the crown prince. He is not termed as the king. And based on this, the person who Muhammad bin Salman, he also evicted, deported the Yemenis. And based on this, the ahadith mentioned that the Yemenis, they would come back with the Mahdi to fight one of the same kings. So from this as well, we understand that it is within the lifetime of one of these three kings who will be fighting after the death of Abdullah. So from this, we understand that we zone down onto the exact lifespan or the timing of the Mahdi. So people in the past, they would say that yes, we are expecting the Mahdi, but this is because of the vague ahadith. Now we are at the time when the more precise ahadith are unfolding, and therefore it leaves it undeniable that we are at the time of the Mahdi. Sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqi Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.